Hi, everybody. It's Danielle Dietrich. It is Friday, October 24th, and we actually have an update from the U.S. Department of Transportation. Oh my gosh, I about fell out of my chair. For those of you who are new to the channel, welcome. My name is Danielle Dietrich, and I am an attorney that works with DBEs and ACDBEs, so Disadvantaged Business Enterprise and Airport Concession Disadvantaged Business Enterprise. Easy for me to say. As most of you know, we've been dealing with the chaos of the recertification process. This week has been just absolutely bananas. I've been trying to churn out personal narratives for my clients. And now, finally, here at, lunchtime, I think it is, yeah, it's 12:42 as I'm making this, and probably about 20 minutes ago, I was forwarded by a client, thank you to that client, guidance that was just issued by the USDOT. I actually went on the USDOT's website to verify that it was legit because I just could not believe it. So hold on to your hats. Going to give you a whole bunch of updates here. I'm basically going to go through it. First and most important, when you've all been waiting for, pretty much all of you have been waiting for, the guidance issued, which they say is not legally binding or anything that highly influential, and this is what all the states have been looking at. The guidance issued says you are to get recertified in your home state, what they call the JOC, jurisdiction of original certification. So your home state, you're to get recertified there first. And then for all of your other states, you're basically going to utilize the interstate certification process, which for those of you who don't know, who haven't been through it since the new regulations came through in May of 2024 last year, the interstate certification process is so much easier now. You need to send a letter to the state where you want to be certified, provide proof that you are certified, probably want to provide proof that you are recertified, and go through that process. It is not providing the entire application. There is a very short time frame. So yay, this is excellent. Again, I could not believe my eyes because this is what we've all been stressing about all week. All of those of you who had Virginia due on Monday, I feel for you. In DC next week, DDOT on Halloween. It has been chaos. So there is more. So let me cross that off my list because that was the big one. So the other question, and there's a lot of questions we're going to go through, contracts. What's happening with contracts currently? So for contracts that have been advertised but not yet opened or issued, there must be amendments to the advertisements that removes the DBE contract goals. Okay, we've already seen that from a lot of places. For projects with DBE goals that have been let, i.e. the bids have been open, but the contracts have not yet been awarded and signed, the recipients, so that's the states, must take appropriate action to zero out the DBE goal. Because of these program changes, the USDOT is allowing recipients to amend the contracts without re-advertising the projects. But they do advise that, that might also depend on the state law and whether or not it has to go out for competition again. So contracts with the DBE goal that have already been signed prior to October 3rd are not required to be modified, but the DBE participation on the contracts can't be counted towards the contract goal or the overall goal until all the reevaluations are done in that UCP, in that Unified Certification Program for the state. So after the reevaluation process, if all the DBEs working on that particular contract are recertified, great. Nothing needs to happen. However, if a DBE performing work on that contract is not recertified during the reevaluation process, the UCP, well, really the recipient, so DOT or the airport or whatnot, they're going to be required to take appropriate action to discontinue the effect of the unconstitutional certification. I'm not exactly sure what they mean by that. They do say if you don't take the appropriate action with respect to the contract, the DOT is not going to make any payments with respect to that contract. So this is one that I've kind of mentally highlighted because it seems potentially problematic for everyone. So this should give the state transportation agencies, airport authorities, all those sorts of folks pause and really be thinking about this when it's coming to doing the reevaluation process. If they are removing certification or if one of those DBEs does not turn in a personal narrative, this is going to be very problematic for them getting paid. Ongoing commercially useful function CUF reviews of DBE work aren't going on right now and don't need to go on right now until everyone is recertified. All right. Um, the termination provisions of 26.53F continue to apply to existing contracts. So that means a prime can't just terminate a DBE or any portion of the DBE's work listed in response to good faith efforts bidding requirements without the recipient's prior consent. So the prime can't terminate a contract without, the state DOT's consent, for instance. And there also needs to be good cause. Now, good cause for termination does exist according to this guidance if the DBE loses its DBE certification after the reevaluation process is completed, because then they'd be ineligible to receive DBE credit. So if you are a DBE and you do not get recertified in your state or in the state where this is happening, you're performing the work, if you lose that certification, you may lose that contract. So that is out there. Now that's going to probably require some additional analysis. I'm sure some folks will be doing that, but right now I'm just trying to get you the highlights here. I have it open in front of me because I know that this is very confusing for a lot of people, and a lot of people won't actually see this. Okay, okay, so apologize for the delay because there's a lot of stuff in here that I don't think everyone is going to really care that much about. So again, we said that the UCPs just have to evaluate their own folks where they are the original certification. There is no date by which this certification reevaluation must be completed. They are clear about this. The language is, quote, as quickly as practicable, close quote. So that is open-ended, so there's no hard and fast deadline. I would think that some of the states are really going to want to try to get through this quickly so they can get the program back in place, start getting things done, especially those states that are friendly to DBEs. Let's see. The regulation, doesn't give a deadline that you have to submit either. So not only is there not a deadline for the decision, there's no deadline to submit, and it's basically being deferred to the states to deal with. There was a question of, can the UCP just decertify everybody without completing the reevaluation process? And so this was, I think, one of the issues that was potentially open to legal challenge is there's some UCPs were saying, hey, everyone's decertified. You are no longer certified. You got to reapply and to get your certification back. And I think that was going to be a very serious potential due process issue, taking away that right of the company without going through the legal process or giving them the chance to do anything. So no, you are still kind of certified, but certification is meaningless. And we still don't have the ability to have a hearing. You are not entitled to a hearing. USDOT has said that they are not going to be involved in the reevaluation process. Basically, they dropped the mess, they created it, but they're saying, hey, it's up to you to deal with, UCPs, all you different states. So they do say they are available to provide technical assistance as necessary, whatever that means. And with the government being shut down, I don't know how much that would actually amount to. And then here's the biggie. You can appeal your decertification under the reevaluation process to the USDOT. This is, again, something I think they put in there because they felt that they had to try to avoid some legal challenges to this, because the original final rule that they put out was silent on this. However, I am not sure how this will actually work. Normally, with an appeal to the USDOT, you have a notice of decision from the certifying agency that lays out all the reasons why you were decertified and citations to the rules. And there's usually many times you've had a hearing, there's a transcript built up, and so you do a written appeal to the USDOT for that. Here, you're not even going to get, you'll get some sort of notice that says whether or not you are certified or decertified, but they are not required to follow all of the provisions that normally happen with a decertification. So they're not required, and you are not entitled to receive a letter laying out all the reasons why you are not getting certified under the reevaluation procedures. So you are then appealing something that you may not know the reasons for. The other potentially problematic issue with this is that at least since January, the USDOT has not been issuing any appeal decisions. When I did a FOIA request back in the end of the first quarter, I did hear back in April that there had been no appeal decisions since the new administration took office in January. I have done since then another FOIA request that I cannot even get a response from the USDOT. I am not aware and have not heard of a single appeal decision coming out. So while you are entitled to appeal, we don't know if they're actually going to start making decisions on appeals whenever the government comes back, whenever that may be. So I think that one more thing that I think will be of interest to everyone. So new DBEs. So new DBEs, you can't get certified right now. If you're not a DBE, you can't go get certified this week or until the reevaluation process is complete because the reevaluation takes precedence. However, in the future, new DBEs will need to provide the personal narrative statement and personal net worth statements in addition to meeting all the other certification standards. So that includes the uniform application form that all of you have filled out. And they do state that the US DOT, expects to provide an updated uniform application form on its website. So be on the lookout for that. So I know this was a lot of information, but I really wanted to get it out there to you in a format that you can understand. I'm going to try to do a blog post on this as well, in between dashing out personal narratives for the people who still have them due next week. But this is very happy news to at least get some guidance. And I'm sure to those of you out there who work for certifying agencies and who are dealing with this, and I know some of you watch my videos, I'm sure that you are thrilled to get any kind of direction here. So thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. I appreciate having followers and having interaction. And look here in the future. Hopefully next week I'll have some other updates for you. Thank you and have a great day.